In the Middle Ages, a mace was a weapon. Today, it is a symbol of authority carried by the senior academic officer or faculty member. On it are inscribed the Greek symbols for wisdom, benevolence, and courage, the characteristics of excellent leaders. Traditional academic dress derives from the gowns, caps, and hoods worn by medieval scholars. Regular use of the academic gown and hood to indicate fellows of the college dates to the University of Cambridge in the 13th century. The colors show the institution from which the wearer received an academic degree, along with the discipline and level of the degree. Some of the older institutions have colored gowns for special events and a black gown for less formal occasions. However, most use only the black gown. Bell-shaped sleeves with velvet stripes indicate a doctoral degree. Gowns for the recipients of master's degrees have a unique sleeve design, but no trim.
Welcome to the graduation ceremonies of Paducah Community College. Please remain standing as the Paducah Community Chorus, under the direction of Associate Professor Jeff Jordan, sings our national anthem. Gentlemen, please remove your mortar boards. Ladies, you may do so if you wish.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, it proved through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Please be seated. It is my distinct pleasure to welcome each and every one of you here, and at this time to introduce some special guests, and then to present to you the platform party. With us this evening is Mrs. Velma Bowley Carlton and her husband Terry Carlton. Mrs. Carlton was the vice chairman of our Board of Trustees for many years, and we're so glad to see you back with us this evening. Mr. Clyde Boyles. And Mr. Boyles is responsible, partly responsible, he and his wife, for the Phelps Award, which you will see presented later this evening. Mr. Boyles, thank you for being here. Mr. Tommy Blair and his wife Teresa are here, and Mr. Blair is the chairman of the Paducah Junior College Development Council. Thank you, Mr. Blair and Mrs. Blair. And our very own state senator, Bob Leeper. Senator Leeper, thank you. And now I will introduce the platform party. But before doing so, I want to recognize a very special achievement and a very special anniversary. This evening is the 50th anniversary of the graduation from Paducah Junior College of Mr. Leon Williams, who is on our Board of Trustees. Mr. Williams, please be recognized. In addition to being a graduate in '47, Mr. Williams has been on this Board of Trustees for over 30 years, providing continuous service to this institution. And now I will introduce the platform party. Please hold your applause until all have been introduced. Dr. David Pierce. Dr. Pierce is the president of the American Association of Community Colleges, and he is our commencement speaker. Mr. Marshall Niemer is the chairperson of the Board of Trustees. Mr. Williams, whom you have met, is also the treasurer of the Board of Trustees. Dr. Shirley Menendez is board secretary. Ms. Ann Denton is executive committee member at large. Other members of the Board of Trustees, County Judge Executive Danny Orazine, Mayor Albert Jones, Ms. Ann Gwynn, Judge William Howerton, Dr. Wally Montgomery, Mr. Ken Wheeler, Ms. Gail Ridgway. Ms. Ridgway is a member of the PCC faculty. And Shana McElroy, who is the president of the PCC student body. Also on the platform are the three deans of this college, Dr. Barbara Vesey, the Dean of Academic Affairs, Ms. Sandra Tucker, the Dean of Student Affairs, and John Carrico, the Dean of Business Affairs. We thank all of you for your selfless contributions to this wonderful school. And now, Ms. Shana McElroy, the 1996-97 President of the Student Government Association, will bring greetings on behalf of her classmates.
Fellow graduates, distinguished faculty, Dr. O'Hara, PJC Board of Trustees, family, and friends. The time we have spent at Paducah Community College, which has led us to this evening's commencement, has been fun-filled yet very challenging. I would like to take a few moments to share with you what PCC means to me and the things that I've learned as a student here. I'd also like to offer a challenge to our graduating class. Deciding where to go and what to do after high school can be a very difficult and stressful decision. I graduated from a small high school, and I didn't feel that I was ready to become a number at a large university. However, I wanted to make sure I attended a college which would prepare me for transfer without sacrificing the quality of my education. So, PCC was perfect for me. I was able to take my basic courses in a small class setting with great teachers who knew me by name. The instructors were very accessible to their students and provided an environment of learning for everyone. It was also easy to become involved in the many activities, organizations, and special events on campus. Best of all, my transcript and diploma will bear the University of Kentucky seal, thus reflecting the excellence that PCC offers to its students. I had expected to broaden my knowledge of math, English, music, speech, and the other courses I was taking in college, but I was surprised by the valuable lessons of life I learned along the way. For those unexpected lessons, I will always be grateful. Students at PCC have all chosen different paths in life which have led us together, thus creating a diversified and strong graduating class of 1997. Some students came here as I did right after high school. Others have transferred here. Some already had degrees but are changing careers, and many are parents. We also have talented high school students receiving a head start on college and retirees returning to college. Each person here tonight has enhanced our diversity, and our diversity has strengthened by the common bond we share as members of the University of Kentucky Paducah Community College family. In addition, I have learned that college is much more than receiving my degree. It is an opportunity to enrich our education and to continue to build upon it. I have learned that regardless of the degree I earn, my learning will never end. Perhaps one day I will return to PCC as a Donovan Scholar when I'm 85 years old and a retired physician, even though I don't think I'll have the same teacher who have taught me these past semesters. But still, I know the experience of lifelong learning with my foundation of post-secondary education began here at PCC. Our semesters here have been very challenging. Many of us have felt like we were in the circus in a juggling act as we tried to juggle our school, family, work, church, and all of our other activities. But we've made it this far. We know we can make it as far as we are willing to set our goals and reach to achieve them. I would like to offer you a challenge by quoting to you a verse from my favorite poem entitled "Don't Quit" in the author's unknown. When things go wrong, as they sometimes will, when the road you're trudging seems all uphill, when the funds are low and the debts are high, and you want to smile but you have to sigh, when care is pressing you down a bit, rest if you must, but don't quit. The diplomas you receive tonight is a reward for your past work and a promise that we, the 1997 graduating class of Paducah Community College, will not quit. We will succeed in our endeavors, no matter what obstacles may come our way. It has been a privilege to be a part of this class. Remember, my fellow classmates, don't ever quit.
It is indeed an honor for me to serve as the Dean of Academic Affairs of this college. And that honor comes because I represent this faculty, a group of outstanding professionals dedicated to teaching. What a wonderful thing to be able to say. And graduates, I know that you can look to the faculty tonight and you can name those individuals who have helped guide and support you in achieving your goal of graduation tonight. And now I would like to say a personal thank you, a personal note to those faculty who will be retiring after this year. When I look back, we have spent most of our professional career together. We've had many accomplishments, both personal and professional. We've had years of laughter with only a few tears sprinkled along the way. And the relationships that we have built, all of us, have helped make this institution what it is today, an outstanding one. I wouldn't trade a minute of it, and to say that we will miss you just doesn't seem to be enough, but you will be sorely missed. Thank you. Now everyone, graduates, family, friends, everyone, join me in paying tribute to the faculty of Paducah Community College. Please stand.
On behalf of the Board of Trustees and for myself personally, I too want to thank the faculty for the outstanding job they have done in preparing this fine group of graduates. Our speaker tonight is Dr. David R. Pierce, President and Chief Executive Officer of the American Association of Community Colleges. The American Association of Community Colleges is based in Washington, D.C., and is the voice of the nation's 1,100 two-year colleges and close to 11 million students. The association's role encompasses advocacy, public policy, research, professional services, and coordination. David Pierce has extensive community college experience at the local, state, and national levels. During his career, he has served as a community college instructor, department chair, academic dean, president, chancellor, and state director. In addition, he holds an Associate of Arts degree from Fullerton College in California. Including his time as a student, David Pierce's experience with community colleges exceeds 35 years. His professional involvement includes services on the AACC Board, the AACC Futures Commission, and the Joint Commission on Federal Regulations for AACC and the Association of Community College Trustees. And he serves on numerous boards and college councils within the Phi Theta Kappa Board, the AWCC Leaders Foundation Board, and the Advisory Board of the Harvard Institute for the Management of Lifelong Education. A native of Oklahoma, David Pierce has held community college positions in California, Iowa, Illinois, and Virginia, and now lives in Washington, D.C., near the association's office at 1 DuPont Circle. It is a distinct honor for our college and a special treat for this graduating class to have America's top community college executive to speak to us today. Please welcome Dr. David Pierce.
Thank you, Mr. Niemer. It's indeed a pleasure and an honor to be with you this evening. I greatly appreciate the opportunity to be here. I want to add to the many congratulations and compliments that you are receiving and will receive. I also want to express my appreciation, as has already been done, to the faculty. So many things and ingredients and people go into creating a learning situation, and arguably the faculty is the most important in that. I also want to express tribute to the members of the stage party, and particularly to President O'Hara, a friend, a person who I know that you know is an outstanding leader for this college and for this nation. I'd like to focus for just a moment on the fact that you have chosen a community college to start your post-secondary education. And as I say that, it causes me to hesitate a little bit and perhaps choose some different words, because some of you may not have actually started your post-secondary education. Come to think of it, at this institution, come to think of it, for a few colleges around the country, we now find that the largest number of incoming students are students that are coming to them with baccalaureate, masters, and doctorates. That's not true for the majority, but it's true for a few. But be that as it may, you have chosen wisely. I chose a community college myself. I attended Fullerton Junior College, it was then, in California, and I can tell you that I have never once regretted that decision. It created a solid foundation for me, not only academically, but in many other ways, and it has held me in good stead over these years. I also was interested, as I read about Paducah Community College, the fact that it was founded in 1932, and the fact that you have a very, very unique arrangement here, in fact, one that I have never seen before. The fact that you have a Paducah Junior College Board, Inc., along with the advisory board for the college, along with the governing board for the University of Kentucky. And I must say that the people that are serving on your board here are very, very impressive people. They're community leaders. They're the types of people that we hope serve on all community college boards, but often it doesn't end up that way. But I think it says something very clearly about the traditions, the respect, the standing, and the reputation that this college enjoys within its community of Paducah and the surrounding area. It simply would not be that way if it weren't for the type of people that you have serving on this board. I also was interested to learn that these members serve for life, and I think that's the first time I have ever seen that. But I say that I tend to think that that's kind of a stroke of genius, because it certainly means that some thought is given to who is put on that board, and I think it means that you do have certainly a high-quality board to serve with this college. It's also, last night I was in Michigan giving commencement remarks at a college, and it was their 50th anniversary. And in preparing those remarks, the difference in the era of 1947 compared to 1997 was just incredibly striking. And I noticed that you started here in 1932, and of course those days were even more different than even in 1947. And if you go back to 1932, and let's just take 2 or 3 different examples and compare them with right now. Let's talk computers for a minute. In 1932, I don't think people even knew how to spell computers, much less, have one existing. They didn't actually come on the scene until about the middle 40s. I think there's some dispute over who invented them, but it was about 1943, 4, 5, right in there, that they actually came into existence. Think of the economy. The fact that in 1932 it was primarily an agricultural economy. We were in an industrial era, but we still were very heavily agriculturally based, and much of our employment was still based in agriculture, and still a lot of horses were tilling the fields in 1932. Think of our society. Today we have, we're well on our way to being a substantially minority-based society. We have several states where the school systems are minority-majority. We have a multicultural, very strongly diversified society today. In 1932, that was not the case, although we were more that way than we in society actually realized or admitted. It wasn't until 1947, for example, that we integrated America's favorite pastime, baseball, and that was integrated when Jackie Robinson became a Brooklyn Dodger. And of course, the world was never quite the same from that point on. But one interesting fact of that is the fact that Jackie Robinson was himself a product of a community college. He was a graduate of Pasadena City College, which is now Pasadena Community Colleges. I just mention those things because the message that I want to bring you tonight is pretty simple, but I think very important, and it has to do with what's happening in the world around us and the change that we are experiencing, and the fact that over these years, since 1932, the college has had to adjust and change dramatically. I mean, try to picture what it was and what it did, the programs that it offered, and the things that it did with the community in 1932, and compare those with today. In fact, compare 1945 with today, and there wasn't much difference between 1932 and 1945. Go to 1955, and there still wasn't that much difference between 55 and 32. But I'm here to tell you, starting about 1970, 75, somewhere in there, things started changing and changing dramatically, and they are continuing to change in an unabated fashion today, and the rate of change seems to be increasing all the time. It's very heavily driven by the development of technology, the development of the computer. The PC, for example, is just one of the most amazing things that I've ever seen in my life. Who would have dreamed that today we would have as many PCs as we have, and they could do as many things as they can do? In fact, we today, as a country, have about 70 personal computers per 100 people, and the closest country to us is Japan with about 20 personal computers per 100 people. So you can see how something like that, with that kind of power, could fuel rapid change. Global relationships have changed tremendously. Economies have changed. In pick your number, 1946, this country produced 75% of the gross world product. That means all the goods and services produced in the world were produced in this country. Today, that's down around 20% and tending down from that point. And so you have to operate in a very different environment when you're in that kind of situation than in 1945 or 6 or 7, just after World War II. And all of this rapid change in our society means that there's a lot of implications for us. The nature of work has changed and continues to change. There's much more emphasis and need for us to be collaborative, to work together, to interact and relate to other workers and other human beings than there used to be when things were different. The jobs themselves that are being created are very different today than they were a few years ago. I think today there's about 1/3 of all the jobs will turn over and cease to exist about every 8 years or so. I may be off a year, but that's approximately correct. And so you can see that things just aren't quite the same. The stability is very different now than it was a few years ago. The relationships that we have with other people is different, and we have to go about it in different ways than we used to. In fact, many people today are developing their primary relationships over the computer and using the internet. They're developing relationships with people that they have never seen face to face, and it would scare them to death if they did see them, so it's probably just as well. But they have almost what you might call lifetime friendships being developed in a sense technologically. The role of institutions like this one and other institutions in our communities is very different today than it was several years ago. They have to play a different role, and they have to be much more nimble and much more adaptive and much more flexible in order to address and solve the needs in the communities. And the role and importance of education is very different today than it was a few years ago. Very different, because as technology has developed and as the nature of work and jobs have changed, then the role that education plays has changed as well. In fact, the need and demand for education today is just awesome. It is unbelievable. And in the next few years, we will see many changes occur in education that we would not have thought possible a short time ago. In last month's issue of The Futurist, a magazine that does exactly what it sounds, it projects and looks into the future, someone had written an article that was addressing this particular issue. And they said they predicted, now who knows if this is correct, pardon me, but they had predicted that in the next 30 years, worldwide, the need and demand for education and training would equal all of the education and training that had gone on in the world since the time of Socrates and Plato in 30 years. Now, that just simply is reflective of the nature of society and the world that we all have to live in, that you in particular have to prepare yourselves to live in. It's amazing, and it certainly calls on all of us to think deeply about how we prepare ourselves and how we fit into that type of situation. It's affected the way we plan for retirement, the way we plan for recreation, and so forth. Not too many years ago, we could count on essential stability in the workplace and in society. If we had an associate degree or a baccalaureate degree or a master's degree, we could pretty well predict with some degree of certainty that we could get a good job, that it would remain fairly stable, that we could progress in it, that we could earn higher levels of wages, and that we would in fact produce the good life. That type of prediction is still possible. It's still available, but you have to think about it and prepare for it very differently today than you did a few years ago. You have to factor in the reality of change. You have to realize that the word commencement doesn't mean you're commencing your career. What it really means is you're commencing your lifetime of continuous learning. You have to develop a flexible strategy that will actually prepare you and hold you in good stead for a lifetime of living and learning. Now, the cornerstone of this strategy is very simple, and these are just some thoughts for you to take home with you tonight. First and foremost, you have to prepare yourself and position yourself for change. And the cornerstone of this strategy is that you have to think about and realize that you've got to be in a mode of continuous learning throughout your lifetime. You can't simply say, I've reached the top of the mountain, I'm going to look down from here. You've got to think instead that you're only partway up the mountain and that mountain does not have a top, and that you have to constantly keep climbing and constantly keep learning and constantly keep yourself sharp and abreast of what is happening in your area and constantly be prepared for anything that might come along. Now, there's a lot of ways to accomplish that. The most important is that you realize it and commit yourselves to it. But it means you may well be coming back to this institution several times to take additional courses. It may mean that you go to the University of Kentucky in Lexington. It may mean that you take courses someplace else. It may also mean that you simply read a lot. Read the right books, read the right periodicals, keep abreast in the newspapers and wherever else you can grab a hold of it. There's a lot of ways to learn. There's no shortage of that. In fact, in the future, there's just going to be an explosion of options for learning. There are people right now that are preparing to take learning right to the workplace because they say that in the future, 30% of the time spent at a work site will be occupied in learning. That's how serious this continuous learning thing is going to be. And so there's many options, but the key thing is within yourself, is to embrace that, realize it, and don't ever let yourselves fall behind. Stay current, stay in front of it. It's just like the coach coaching a hockey team. He coaches these players not to go where the puck is, but where it's going to be. And that's what you have to think about as you live life and prepare to live life. A second part of the strategy is that we have to learn to live and learn to embrace and learn to appreciate the richness and the reality of a multicultural, diversified society. We are there. I mentioned that earlier. We have to learn to work collaboratively together, not only in the workplace, but in society, because we're in a competitive situation, not only as an individual, but also as a nation and as a state. And it is essential that we collaborate, work together, and interact. And for us to do that, we have to appreciate the richness of other people's values, other people's traditions, other people's cultures, no matter where they come from, no matter who they are or what they are. We, without question, are the most multifaceted, diversified society on the face of the earth. That can be the greatest strength that we have. It can also tear us apart. And I urge you, as the future leaders of this community and of this nation, that you do your part and you shoulder your responsibility to making this society better, helping it achieve its potential, and making it work. A third point I want to mention relates to community itself. As change occurs more rapidly, the importance of community becomes even greater. And it's important that our communities function and function well. That is true for many. It undoubtedly is true for Paducah. It is not true for some across this nation. Communities were created by man. They were not put on this earth by God. And they can be torn down by man, or they can be built up by man. And I challenge you to invest yourselves, to assume responsibility, to volunteer your time, do whatever it takes to make your community a better place to live, a better place to nurture your children, and a better place for human beings to get along with and interact with other human beings. We just last weekend had a volunteer summit in Philadelphia. And I was privileged to be on the planning team for that summit, but I was not privileged to be able to attend it. But it's simply an indication of the fact that many of the leaders in our nation realize the importance of people investing themselves to make our communities healthy and to function. My final suggestion is that you develop a strategy to enhance and maintain yourselves as people. To live competently in this age and in the future, you simply have got to be hitting on all cylinders. You cannot be shirking or slacking or pulling back. You've got to be as healthy as you can be. You've got to be as alert as you can be. You've got to maintain your wellness. You've got to develop your spiritual growth, whatever your choice is in that area. You've got to make sure that your nutrition is correct, that you have adequate recreation and physical exercise and so forth. There's plenty of programs available. The important thing is that you think this through and adopt goals in this area. In fact, I would urge you to adopt a very simple goal, and that is that you want to be a better person tomorrow than you were today. And whatever it takes to accomplish that, it's a multifaceted goal. But whatever it takes to accomplish that, if you sustain that goal, trust me, it will pay off for you in the end. In fact, I would urge you to borrow all you can from people that you know. And one of the best places to adopt models, to adopt mentors, to adopt people who can help you throughout your lifetime is right here at Paducah Community College. these people sitting right here, the faculty, are perhaps the greatest treasure of mentors and models that you could possibly turn to. And I want to close by sharing a situation that happened to me a couple of weeks ago at our annual convention in Anaheim, California. I had graduated from a community college, and prior to that, my father had died when I was very young, and I had, made some mistakes. I won't get into a lot of details on that, but I had ended up in the Marines and in Korea, and then finally back to California. So I decided to go to this community college. I was very much floundering at that point, but I went there, and right off the bat, in one of my math classes, I met an individual who turned out to be arguably the most important person in my life. He gave me a set of values. He gave me, in effect, a personality. He gave me an approach to life, all as a math teacher. I had him through all of my 4 courses in calculus that I took at that institution. And when I left there, it was because of him that I chose education as a career, and it was because of him that I frankly viewed a lot of things the way that I viewed them. And it had been 40 years since I had seen him, although I had had contact with him by mail several times over those years. And by the way, 40 years goes just like that, in case you wonder. But I decided, since I was in the position that I was, and since we were recognizing the Teacher of the Year at our convention, the Teacher of the Year for community colleges is chosen each year by the Carnegie Commission on the Advancement of Teaching, I decided I was going to invite him to the opening ceremony and recognize him. After we recognized the Teacher of the Year, the real one, I was going to introduce my old-timer Teacher of the Year. You know, they do that in baseball for the Hall of Fame, don't they? So I was going to take, advantage of my situation and do that. And so he agreed to be there. Interesting, and it went beautifully. I was so pleased with the way it turned out, and it made me feel good. It may not have made anyone else feel good, but I felt so good that I could recognize him. And later, I was able to spend a few minutes with him. I wasn't able to spend a long time, but my wife was able to spend some time with him. And he had not a clue that he had impacted my life the way that he had. And I must say that there probably hasn't been 2 days that have gone by since I left that community college that I haven't thought about him in some kind of an appreciative way. Now, the fascinating thing is that about 2 weeks before the convention, I received a call from a president in California who had met a woman at a United Way meeting in Laguna Beach. And she just, out of the blue, said, "Do you know David Pierce?" And he said, "Well, sure, I know David Pierce." And she said, "Well, I was a student at his college when he was president of it in Iowa, and that was a long time ago, too, but it was 27 years ago. And she said that I cannot tell you the impact he has had on my life. And she said, I would like to talk to him and see him and tell him that." And so he said, "Is there any way you could work it out?" And I said, "I think so." And so we called her office. And she, by the way, owns and runs the largest property management firm in California. So if I had an impact on her, I wish I'd impacted myself first. To make a long story short, she came up and met with me for 2 hours prior to the opening session. And it was a wonderful conversation. She had been president of our student body, and she had been a cheerleader, so I had gotten acquainted with her in that context. We had a wonderful time, and then a couple hours later, I was privileged to go into the general session and recognize and honor my Teacher of the Year, my professor that I had not seen for so long. Now, the moral of the story and what I'm building up to is this, that for you as students, model and borrow as much as you possibly can from your teachers here at this community college. Chances are there's a lot they can do to impact your lives, and just the way that they handle themselves, the way they talk, the way they look at things, the way they think. And it can go beyond just your community college teachers. It can be adults in your life, other places as well. But to the faculty of this wonderful institution, just be mindful of the fact that every time you walk in a classroom and interact with your teachers, you're making a tremendous impact, and you have the potential to make major contributions to people's lives. You probably don't realize that all of the time, but you do. Everyone takes something from the experience they have in interacting with you as faculty at a community college. I don't think there's any other institution in this country where the potential exists for benefiting people the way we have that opportunity at a community college. And so I just leave both of you with that challenge to realize that there's a lot more to learning than just book learning and learning the concepts and the facts in the classroom. There's a whole other world of learning out there that we all need to be aware of and that we're all a part of and that we all need to take advantage of. I leave that with you. Let me again express my congratulations and give you my very best wishes for all kinds of success in the future. Good luck to you.
Thank you, Dr. Pierce. On behalf of everyone at PCC, allow me to say how much we appreciate and admire you for the daily leadership that you provide to the 1,100+ community colleges across this nation. Everyone in this room knows that community colleges in Kentucky are right now a prominent political topic. What many may not know is that they are hotly debated topics in virtually every state in this nation. And the reason for that, I am convinced, is because we have been so successful. And now that we are so successful, everyone else wants a piece of the action. Because of your strong personal leadership, America's community colleges are the premier post-secondary institutions in this nation and in the world. And again, I thank you for being here today.
Will the candidates please rise? Dr. O'Hara, I present the candidates for graduation, and I certify on behalf of the faculty that they have successfully completed all of the requirements for their respective degrees. The first row of graduates may proceed to the stage. All others may be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, as the names of the graduates are read, please note that those graduating with distinction have achieved a grade point average of 3.4 to 3.6. Those graduating with high distinction have earned a 3.6 or higher. Students wearing gold stoles are members of the Phi Theta Kappa Honor Society. Receiving an Associate in Arts, Brenda K. Arnett. Mindy Lee Barlow. Daniel K. Carroll. Michelle Lene Couch. Dina Lauren Dawes. Sonia Lee Faulkner. Allison L. Hatchett. Stephanie Hodges. Cassandra Lee Keelan. Kim Rochelle Keevel. Vicki Lynn Livingston. Anita K. Lowe. Tanisha Lachey Mack. Selena Marie Mansfield. Sabrina Faith Millay. Tanya Renee Mitchum. Stephen Lynn Moore. Mary Catherine Petter. Terry McKnight Robertson. David Allen Robinson. Brent Thomas Rose, and Brent is graduating with a 4.0. Jamie Lynn Seaton. David C. Smith. Paula Renee Woodford. Graduating with an Associate in Science, Leah Lynetta Arnold. Cassandra May Boland. I have Gregory Thomas next, and that can't be. Crystal? Crystal Gail Davidson. Crystal is graduating with a 4.0. Jessica L. Duncan. Joseph Anthony Englert. Marie Louise Thomas Estes. Tina K. Green. Anita Aiken Greelands. Scott Marshall Harrell. Lisa Renee Hill. Rebecca Aaron Huber. David Dwayne Jones. Elizabeth Ann Carr. Christy A. Kilcoyne. And Christy is graduating with a 4.0. Amanda F. LeCleary. Shayna Lynn McElroy. Matthew Christopher Mitchell. Christy Ann Nichols. James D. Perry. Angela Dawn Smith. Mary Christina Wilkerson. And Mary is graduating with a 4.0. Receiving the Associate in Applied Science in Accounting Technology, Cynthia M. Harper. In Business Technology with the Management Information Systems option, Marcia Bradbury Beechel. Tina Blaylock. Kathy Bryant. Jennifer Renee Jackson. Michael L. Reed. Nancy Louise Robbins. Dennis Allen Roof. With the real estate management option, Tammy June Walker. In the telecommunication systems management option, Jesus Remo Oles. In computer information systems, the programming option, Becky Leah Bauer. Kitty Regina Davison. Cindy R. Scott. Kenneth R. Schulte. Nursing, Deborah June Adams. Ronica Marie Adams. Jane D. Baker. Marcy Ann Beavers. Crystal Broyles. Michelle Carbonell Smith. Linda Faye Clark. Constance Clara Cook. Wanda R. Cook. Lisa Culver. Jamie Lynn Duncan. Dennis Dale Dunning. Rhonda Dean Dykes. Shayna K. Edmiston. Lisa Gay Fink. Pamela Renee Futrell. Gary Dean Harris. Natalie Newsom Hill. Jennifer Rollins Holshauser. Melissa L. Hewlett. Crystal C. Hurt. Andrea K. Jackson. Susan Jane Gent. Karen Kenneman. Lucinda A. Lemieux. Marcia J. Lewis. Lee Anna Lynn. Lisa Marie Mitchell. Pamela P. Myers. Daryl Ray New. Carrie Higdon Powell. Christy Lynn Sims. Patricia Colleen Smith. Kimberly Ann Spears. Julie A. Stubblefield. Michelle Lynn Summers. Michelle Terry. Mark D. Thorne. Leslie Ann Travis. Lester James Willis. Cinda Renee Wilson. Kimberly Ann Womble. Graduating in Office Systems, Debbie Broach Sissel. Levisa J. Forbes. Leslie Ray Smith. Dawn Michelle Vinson. Tiffany Diana Yates. In Physical Therapist Assistant, Doris Stroud Becker. Jessica Deanne Burnett. Grace E. Kane. Carol Elizabeth Clapp. Jamie Ann Day. Jana Leah Gordon. Nicole Leah Leesor. Tracy Skillian Moore. Julie R. O'Neill. Kathleen A. Petty. Hope Renee Prather. Peggy Miller Wyatt. And our first graduate in our Technical Studies program, Frances Marie Swift.
Will the graduates please rise? By virtue of the power vested in me by the University of Kentucky and the Commonwealth of Kentucky, I hereby confer upon you the associate degree. You may now move your tassels to the left side. Congratulations. You may be seated. And now I have an opportunity to mention a few very special people. This year, the student body of Paducah Community College selected Gerald Watkins as the 1997 Teacher of the Year. Professor Watkins. The Phelps Award for Teaching Excellence is given each year to a member of the Arts and Sciences faculty who has demonstrated the best qualities of the teaching profession, and as you have heard, we have so many wonderful teachers at this college. The recipient receives a cash award and is also afforded the opportunity of purchasing library materials for his or her department or division. The 1997 recipient of the Phelps Award is mathematics professor Jackie Blagg. Professor Blagg is best described as a person of quiet competence. Her division chairperson and her dean call her a caring, compassionate teacher whose first concern is always the academic success of her students. In addition to carrying a full teaching load, she also chairs the math department. Professor Blagg is doing marvelous, important work throughout this community by serving on the Region 1 School to Work Council and by holding down the top job in the Paducah-McCracken County Tech Prep Project. She's led that successful effort for its entire existence, going on 5 years now. And finally, and most important of all, her students say that she is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful teacher. Let us all congratulate her again. Each year, I select members of the college family to receive the President's Medallion. This award provides me an opportunity to recognize someone or ones whose dedication and deeds have moved our college toward greatness. Last year when I gave this award, I said that I believed our little college was no longer moving toward greatness. I said that I believe that ever so slightly we are already great. Today I echo that opinion, and I tell you today that we are better than ever. By nearly any measure, PCC is, pound for pound, a great college. And we are strong in virtually every department, every division, and every service that we provide. And I say this not to brag, but to thank this community and this faculty and all of you for making those words possible. And while we are far, far, far from perfect, and we have a long, long, long way to go, there is not a bad department at this institution. In fact, if you can find one, tell me about it and we will thank you. It's a tough thing to do, I can tell you. This is a fine, fine college. As someone said to me recently, you know, I believe PCC can do anything. And I believe PCC can do anything. And it's because of the people that we have here. The person whom I have chosen to symbolize our great work through greatness this year is John Voss. John has kept and is keeping our college up with the frantic pace of computer networking, global connectivity, hardware and software decision-making, and all the rest that you know that's going on in this world. And he's doing it to shape the face of the entire way we do business at our college, largely because of John and people like Jenny Boyarsky and a few others. PCC is confident about the future. Our faculty and our staff are excited about what is going on today, and they look forward to the changes that will come. We will remain Kentucky's first and best distance learning place because of people like John Voss. John, thank you. The other President's Medallion recognizes 50 years of intelligence, generosity, and unending loyalty and devotion to this college and to this community. Most of you have probably never met George Crounce, and many may not even know who George Crounce is. But I can say without fear of contradiction that he has touched the lives of every one of us. And he has given each of us something of considerable value. Mr. Crounce is a private person. In fact, he's not even here tonight. I had to go down to see him where he works, and he's in his mid-80s now, and ask him if I might give him a medallion and if I might say a word or two about him. And he said, "Len, okay, but please don't go on about this." And so I will not go on. But I will simply say that he came to Paducah in 1946 with a dream, and his dream came true. And in the process, he has been very, very successful. And he has willingly and very privately shared that success through libraries and hospitals and schools and other private service entities and organizations, and especially this college. I'm proud to know him and privileged to count him as a friend and as an advisor. It was George Crounce who was the prime architect and the proponent of PCC's affiliation with the University of Kentucky in 1968. And he and Mrs. Crounce continue to support that relationship today. Even though he is not here tonight, I ask that you stand and join me in thanking two friends whom you personally may not even know, George and Eleanor Krause for 51 years of extraordinary service to PCC and this region of Kentucky. Mr. Krause, if you're watching at home, I hope I didn't go on. This is a bittersweet moment for me because some very important people are going to retire this year. And through an unusual set of circumstances, we have an unusual number of retirees from our faculty. I would ask that these persons stand as a group. Jenny Boyarsky, Jerry Counts, Mary Ann Friels, Bernadette Sassine, and John Robertson. These people represent 150 years of service to this college, unreplaceable, and they're all just kids. Finally, to the graduates, a few words. My few words are go get 'em. Do not have a moment's doubt about whether you are ready or not. You are ready. You have just graduated from a great school. Those who have gone on before you are successful in business, healthcare, science, the arts, and virtually every other area of work or study. If you are transferring, know that PCC graduates not only do well, they are sought after by four-year colleges and universities. And know that you earned your success because I know you know that at PCC they don't give it away. You earned it. And while you are not finished with your education, and you never will be, you are ready. And we have loved having you with us. And we would love someday to have you, or perhaps the kids, back with us. We will still be here for you and for them, turning out more of far western Kentucky's brightest citizens. And a postscript, a paraphrase from an American pioneer, Bryant S. Hinckley. Service. Service is the virtue that distinguished the great of all time and which they will be remembered by. It marks the difference between the two great groups of people in this world, those who help and those who hinder, those who lift and those who lean, those who contribute and those who only consume. How much better it is to give than to receive. Service in any form is comely and beautiful. To give encouragement, to impart sympathy, to show interest, to banish fear, to build self-confidence, and to awaken hope in the hearts of others. In short, to love them and to show it is to render the most precious service of all. We love you and we are proud of you, so go get 'em. In a moment, Professor Jordan will lead the chorus in singing My Old Kentucky Home. We ask that you stand and join us in that great song, the words of which are in your program, and then allow the recessional to pass before leaving your seats and follow us to the Student Center for a reception honoring the class of 1997.
the sun.